In our video number 19, let's discuss employment. What is employment? It is engaging oneself in an economic activity, that is, earning a living. Now, this earning gives a sense of accomplishment and pride because we work to meet the requirements of those who are dependent on us. Mahatma Gandhi insisted on education and training, which are necessary for employment. But why study employment? Because employment gives insights into the quality and nature of employment. It helps us to understand and plan our human resources. It helps us to analyze the contribution made by different industries and sectors towards national income or GDP. It also helps us to address social issues like exploitation of marginalized sections of society, child labor, etc. These marginalized sections of society are the most vulnerable people, like people with disabilities, elderly, or the aged people. Now, after discussing what is employment, let's understand who is a worker. A worker is one who is engaged in economic activity plus who contributes to national income, that is GDP. Those who are absent from work for some time due to an injury or other physical disability or leave during the festival or religious functions are also workers. Just the thing that they are absent from work for some period of time. Then people who are self-employed are also workers. Now, since we said those engaged in economic activity are workers, can we call people like beggars, a thief, a smuggler, a gambler also workers? No, because they do not contribute to the national income. It is not an economic activity. So they cannot be called as workers. Now, if you look at the population in the rural areas in India, it is greater than the population in the urban areas. So obviously, the workforce in the rural areas will be greater than the workforce in the urban areas. So we find that 3/4 of the population in the rural areas come under the workforce, whereas in the urban areas it's only 1/4 of the population in the urban areas. Now, statistically, 70% of the men are in the workforce, whereas 30% are women. Of these 30%, we find 1/3 are from the rural areas and 1/5 are from the urban areas. Now, the worker population ratio gives us the percentage of population that is actively contributing to the production of goods and services of a country. It is an indicator used for analyzing the employment situation in the country. So, how is it calculated? We get worker population ratio as the estimated number of workers divided by the estimated the population into 100. This is otherwise called workforce participation rate. A higher ratio would mean that more people are engaged in work. Now, if you look at the statistics of the worker population ratio statistics 2011-12, we find some discrepancy in the rural and urban areas and the workforce in the men and women categories. Now, if you look at the rural and the urban areas, we find 39.9, let us say 40% of the rural people when compared to 35.5% in the urban areas. Why there are more people in the worker population ratio in the rural areas is, as we discussed earlier, education and training are very important. So people in rural areas have limited resources to earn a higher income or going to school, colleges, it needs an investment, and other training institutions. So people cannot afford, the economic conditions do not allow them to do so. So that's why we find more workforce in the rural areas when compared to the urban areas. Urban areas, on the other hand, they have all opportunities for education as well as employment. And they also look for appropriate jobs to suit their qualifications and skills. So that's the advantage of the urban areas to rural areas. Now, if you compare men and women, we find women in the rural areas form the major workforce when compared to the urban areas. Why? Because this could be because in the urban areas, men are able to earn higher incomes, so less women are engaged in the workforce. And in the urban areas, the household activities that the women are engaged are not recognized as productive work. While women in the rural areas, they are considered as part of the workforce because they are being paid wages for the work that they do in the rural areas. Now, if we look at the categories of workers, that is the percentage of total workforce in self-employed, casual wages, and the regular salaried employees, then we find 52% of the workforce is self-employed and 30% casual wages and 18% only is the regular salaried employees. Now, who are these self-employed people? The self-employed are ones who own and operate an enterprise to earn their livelihood, like a cement shop owner, owner of a saloon, etc. Casual wages are casually engaged in others' farms and who get a remuneration for the work, some wages. And regular salaried are those who are paid their wages on a regular basis. Okay, so in a construction company, somebody is working in a construction company or some firm, they get their regular salaries. So they come under this regular salaried employees. If you look at the percentage of men and women in the various categories, we find more than 50% of the men and women are engaged in the self-employment. And if you look at the regular salaried ones, we find 20% of the men are in the regular salaried group when compared to just 13% of women. This could be attributed to a reason of skill requirement. Since regular salaried jobs required skills and a higher level of literacy, women might not have been engaged to a great extent. Let's now look at the distribution of workforce by industries. The categories are primary sector, secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. Primary sector, we know agriculture, mining, and secondary sector includes manufacturing, electricity, water supply, construction, and the tertiary sector is services sector, that is trade, transportation, services come under the tertiary sector. Now we have this distribution in the rural and the urban areas, men and women. Then we find in the agricultural sector or the primary sector, 49%, that 48.9%, let's round it off to 49%, are engaged in the primary sector, which is greater than any other, the secondary or the tertiary sectors, of which 64% is from the rural India or rural areas. Okay, and then when you see in the urban areas, 58.3% of the urban people are engaged in the tertiary sector. Of them, men are more employed than women in the tertiary sector, right? Then if you look at the secondary sector, it gives employment to about 35% of the urban people, urban workforce, and 20% of the rural workers are working in the manufacturing industries in the secondary sector. Then tertiary sector, 60% of the 60% of the urban workforce is in the services sector, and only 15.5% are in the rural workforce. Finally, let's look at the indicators of economic development. The two developmental indicators are growth of employment and growth of the GDP. Now, if you look at this graph, the blue shows the GDP, growth in GDP, and the red shows the growth in employment. From 1951-56 to 2010 and 12, we find the growth in GDP to be much higher than the growth in the employment. Though there are some fluctuations in the growth, but we find a lot of gap between the growth in the GDP when compared to the employment. Now, this could be because of just 2% growth in the employment rate when compared to the GDP, which grew at a very positive higher rate. Now, this gap between the GDP and the employment could be attributed to, or what do we understand by growth in GDP? It is the increase in the production of goods and services, isn't it? Growth in GDP means increase in the production of goods and services. But without increasing the employment, how could we achieve this increase or production in goods and services? This phenomena scholars refer to as the jobless growth, the effect of which could be seen in the movement of the workforce from the farm work to the non-farm work. So people moved from the self-employment and regular salaried employment to casual wage work. This process of moving from self-employment to regular salaried employment is referred to as casualization of workforce.